Hey everybody, welcome to BirdTech. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the exponential age and what is going to make money this decade. Alright, welcome back. First, this video, make sure you like, subscribe. The more likes, subscribes you get, the more content we can make. The number one reason why you subscribe to this amazing YouTube channel is to get into the money-making trends before they go mainstream. So if I were to be long anything this decade, I would be long robotics, AI, and cryptocurrency. So if you want to invest in any of these three areas, chances are 9 years into the future, you will be much richer than you are today. This can be a stock, this can be a coin, this can be pretty much anything that you want to do. And if I were, let's say 18 or 22, I would be focusing on any of these topics here. And of course, if you want to make the most amount of money, is to learn to code in any of these topics. The reason why I say this is that there is going to be so much demand for this kind of talent, it's going to be absolutely unreal. Now, I think the world in 9 years is going to look like a completely different place from today. Now, if we just kind of walk back about maybe 10 or 20 years, the economies of the past have basically fallen over, and a lot of things have really pointed to the US going off the gold standard in 1971. There was an article about this, which I'll link down below, but I basically agree. So what do we have to show for the world going off the gold standard? Well, it's been 50 years and we have massive wealth inequality, and we also have a crumbling financial system. Now, pretty much the financial system went bust in 2008, but in the last 12 years or so, I've been thinking that the world would go back to the previous economy, but it's basically now hasn't been repaired. The damage in 2008 was never really kind of repaired, and now we're here. We're here in a place where houses cost way too much money, and unless you are rich, you can't really get ahead. Now, this is in stark contrast to previous economies where we actually had recessions, and recessions are good because it took out the over-leveraged people, and the people that made better decisions would be able to capitalize on their loss. So an example of that would be if someone bought a house and they bought a bunch of investment condos, but there was a recession, they couldn't pay their bills, well, they would have to sell those condos perhaps for a loss. And because they sold those condos for a loss, someone who has not in debt could go buy those condos and get on the property ladder. But it's basically been 12 years since we've had a recession. We had a recession in 2020, but that was the shortest bear market of all time. So where is this going into AI and robotics and cryptocurrency? Well, first of all, cryptocurrency is building a new financial system, and Bitcoin itself is building, well, basically an alternative gold. That's what the whole point of Bitcoin is. Ethereum and Cardano are building decentralized platforms so that, well, basically governments or nobody can pull the strings. It's completely decentralized. And I think this is an absolutely really good thing. Now, of course, if you just buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano, I guarantee these prices will be higher in 10 years. And I highly recommend that you do that. One of the things I really like is that if the capital gains tax were to be eliminated on cryptocurrency, I think that's a huge thing. Now, there are certain parts in the world where there are no capital gains tax. New Zealand is a good example. Switzerland is another. So if you live in these places, you can just put your money into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, gold, or silver, and, well, you can basically protect your wealth. And I think that is really awesome. But let's talk a little bit about machine learning and AI. So AI is a really useful tool. In fact, we use it a little bit here at Mammoth to make our courses, but this is a very small example. In fact, Tesla has its own chip that can basically do all of its vision. And this is something that's really interesting, is because in the chip in the phone that this is being recorded on, since I'm just recording this on an iPhone, it's completely different from the chip that you would have in a Tesla. And because of that chip difference, Tesla is able to do these machine learning calculations much quicker. So they're planning to use this chipset in the Tesla bot as well. And as we've talked about, the Tesla bot is incredibly disruptive. So if the Tesla bot does come out and it can do just a little bit of work, then that will disrupt a lot of the economies. Be prepared for a lot of disruption. And again, how do you prepare for that? Well, if you're a coder, well, there's going to be incredible demand for any kind of things computing. It's really not going to go anywhere. And if you really want a job, you can code. It really is good. Now, AI is going to be really awesome, and it's going to be a huge moneymaker for you because the believe it or not, AI is good, but it's not perfect. There is a long way to go on what it can do, and it will always need machine learning engineers. However, machine learning engineers are, it's quite difficult, so there's a lot of things that you need to understand, and to become good at it, it is, again, quite difficult. But here's the thing, robotics also need to make a huge leap, and they are starting to. With the Tesla bot being announced and what Boston Dynamics can do, you'll start to see that the combination of AI and robotics is going to lead to massive productivity gains. I cannot understate how much both these two combinations of technology are going to absolutely make the world a completely different place. And you need to protect yourself from that. So if you have a job right now, that job might not exist in the future. And here's the thing, this can happen to anyone. It can happen to doctors, lawyers, it can happen to pretty much anyone. And with the Tesla bot and other robotics coming out, it's possible that other jobs might not be at risk. If I was making this video 2 years ago, I would say something like an air conditioning mechanic or a plumber might not be disrupted because, well, you can't get a robot to do that. But what if you can get a robot to do that? Any homeowner knows that as soon as you bring in a plumber, it is incredibly expensive. So because it's so expensive, well, again, a machine and a robot can do it cheaper, then that is a huge thing that you need to understand. Now, here's the thing. How do you protect your wealth from this? Well, you need to start putting it into cryptocurrency, first of all. Second is you need to find some stocks that you can hopefully invest in. Now, the thing about cryptocurrency is like you are investing at the base layer of everything. So like I said, imagine investing in the internet in 1997. Well, if you can do that, well, how much would that investment be worth today? Well, it'd be worth a lot. So with cryptocurrencies, it's the same thing. And believe it or not, you are still ahead of the game. If crypto goes down in some kind of dip, which it can dip 90%, I would go and buy a lot more. If Bitcoin went down a lot, I would buy so much more. I'm always stacking my crypto. But the other thing is that technology stocks do outpace the money printing, and you want to slowly accumulate a position in Apple and Tesla and a few other technology companies as well. Now, Tesla, of course, is a little bit overvalued in my opinion, but eventually it will get to the point where the evaluations make 100% sense. And the reason why I say it's a little overvalued is that there is a lot of hype and there's a cultish mentality around that stock, meaning that it can dip down. Now, once you make a position and it goes down even further, you don't want to overcommit. You don't want to always put all of your money into one thing. Now, there's a lot of people in Wall Street bets that do this, but it seldom works out very well. You want to diversify your portfolio. So having Bitcoin is a great thing, but you also want to invest in robotics. Any kind of robotic startup that is available for you to invest in, as long as the money looks good and you know that the people aren't really scammers, well, I think that's a good bet too, because a lot of these robotics companies will get acquired by the bigger companies and you'll be able to cash in on that as well. So having said that, any kind of robotics company that's coming out that can promise some real world intangible benefits, then I highly recommend investing in it. Now, of course, it's very possible that Ethereum or Cardano might even have their own stock market in the future. And this will be absolutely amazing because most people will not even A, want to invest in a cryptocurrency stock, and B, they won't even know what that is. So what that means for you is that all the stocks in there are going to be incredibly good value, and you just have to set it and forget it. The way that people make a lot of money is to basically set it on good investments and basically forget it. Another thing you can do is you can also buy residential or commercial real estate, because chances are the money printer for the next decade is going to go even more parabolic, because one of the things that nobody talks about is that, believe it or not, populations, especially in certain areas, are declining. And if you have a declining population, well, the property will just go down just due to supply and demand. Now, of course, this varies from region to region and area to area and even city to city, and sometimes even neighborhood to neighborhood. But you get the idea. If people aren't having as many kids, that means there's less people, and there's less people to make the house price go up. And newsflash, our whole financial system is basically built off rising prices and debt. So you'll be able to erase all of your debt with perhaps even just 1 Bitcoin or even maybe 0.1 Bitcoin, or you might even be able to erase all of your debt with 0.01 Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure this could happen with gold one day, but it's looking more likely that will happen with Bitcoin. 1 Bitcoin will erase all of your debts and everything there is. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ethereum would do the same thing, or even a Cardano. Now, perhaps Cardano erasing all your debts might be a bit strong, but either Bitcoin or Ethereum or gold, one of those 3 things, if you own just one of them, they will erase all of your debts in the future because the money printer has to go burr. I should do a whole episode on why this works, but that's a story for a different time. So if you've been a fan of this channel, I've consistently told people that I've graduated during 2008, 2009, and it was not very good. It was very, very difficult to find a job, and I'm not sure if we'll ever get to that point again. I don't think that we'll have such a huge dip because guess what? The money printer will go burr, and a lot of people will put their money into assets that really outperform. And the assets that are really going to outperform are going to be cryptocurrencies and robotics. But you have to have a job. If you're young, you can't just like put your money in Cardano and stake it and all of a sudden you're rich. It takes time to build wealth. There is no really get rich quick scheme. So that's why I always recommend learning to code. If you learn to code, you'll have a skill for life, even if you're not the best coder. And this is the key thing. Even if you're not the best coder, you can still be on the team that does something with the coding, because there are always other positions in companies that require you to at least have some basis into machine learning. If you want to work at some of these big companies, if you know how to code, but you're not necessarily a coder, that puts you way above everybody else. Because if you have a good portfolio, you can go talk to those coders. Because again, all these companies do have coders, but they have a bunch of people to do other things as well. And if you know how to code and you know how to do machine learning, and your competition doesn't, well, guess what? You're going to get hired. Even if you're not the best coder in the world, you will get hired because, well, you at least know more than the other people. And of course, that's why I founded my company, Mammoth Interactive. The whole reason why I basically founded my company is because I took some e-learning courses, and then I made some products, and then I started to get traction and jobs, and then I found out that everyone wanted courses, and because they wanted courses, I was really good at making courses better than everybody else, and so I started to do that myself. And again, at Mammoth Interactive, we're always trying to make and push the envelope as to what the practicality of our courses deliver. Now, the whole point of a Mammoth Interactive course is to get you from A to B in the quickest time possible, and we give you something to use on your LinkedIn or resume. Of course, we try to do this better than post-secondary education, and oftentimes our customers say that it actually is. So please like and subscribe to this channel. And if you really like this channel, you can subscribe to Mammoth Interactive's huge library of content. We release 20-60 hours of fresh new content per month. We even show people how to become machine learning engineers. And with your help, our goal is to get to 10,000 paid subscribers. And if we can do that, we can release 200 to 300 hours of content per month, plus do a whole bunch of other ed tech stuff. It really won't take that many people because we're so efficient. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.